أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, it may be a simple word, it may be a fleeting remark, it may be just a throwaway sentence, yet the profound impact of your word, of your fleeting remark and throwaway sentence isn't always realized by people around. One word, one simple word could take you from the height of achievements to total destruction. It may consign you from and to the bottom of hellfire, head first. And that is the evil consequence of backbiting. One word could take you from the potential for Jannah to certain destruction and to the pit of hellfire. So Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْدُكُمْ بَعْضًا. And neither allow yourselves to speak ill with one another behind your brothers or sisters' back. أَيُحِبَّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا. Would you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother? فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Allah says, you surely will loathe it, you will hate it. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ. Verily Allah is accepting of repentance, dispenser of grace. My brothers and sisters, one single word. It doesn't take much. It just takes one word to destroy your potential to heaven and consign you to hellfire. Prophet ﷺ said, a person might speak a word without thinking about its implications, but because of it, he or she will plunge into the hellfire further than the distance between east and the west of this earth, or east and the west of the universe. You may say something without even thinking and realizing its impact, and yet the consequence is the same: hellfire and the pit of it. A person utters a word whereby he or she describes another person in a negative way, either explicitly or implicitly, and it plunges the speaker into clear and evident loss. And what could be a greater loss than for a person to say something that does not benefit him, does nothing for him, but rob him or her of their blessings and the reward of the good deeds that they may have conducted while being alive on this earth? What could be of a greater loss, my brothers and sisters, than good deeds on the day of judgment running out? The sons and the sins of the other, the one you have backbitten about, are taken and foisted on your records because you spoke ill about your brother behind their back. And then you are hurled in the hellfire. A Muslim utters a mere word upon which his destiny is determined. And it is only because he did it thoughtlessly with his tongue, without any consideration, without thinking. Indeed, people are heedless about the consequences of backbiting. Once Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu asked Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to advise him about things that will take him to paradise and keep him away from hellfire. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him many good things. Then he said, "Shall I inform you of the foundation of all of this?" Mu'adh replied, "Certainly." Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he took his tongue between his fingers and he said, "Restrain this, restrain yourself from this, restrain yourself from this." The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam indicated to Mu'adh to take control of his tongue. So Mu'adh said, "O Prophet of Allah, are we going to be held accountable for what we say?" The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "May your mother be bereaved for you or of you, O Mu'adh. Does anything topple people headlong into the hellfire save the harvest of their tongue? Is there anything in this world that guarantees a person a space in hellfire than the harvest of their tongue?" The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whoever can guarantee to me what is between his lips, I can guarantee him paradise." My brothers and sisters, our tongue is the softest part of our body. There are no bones in our tongue. And yet it is the sharpest, most destructive, most dangerous. A piece of meat that we have in our body that could cause war, that could bring nation to brink of destruction, could bring people together and bring people to love, compassion and charity to be shared. It could bring humanities together. I have been a victim of backbiting many times in my life. Imagine sometimes when people backbite, I get to hear about it. But imagine all the other times that I don't hear about it. My brothers and sisters, what others say behind my back actually doesn't bother me. I'm not bothered by what they say behind my back. In fact, I think it's a blessing that I don't know what they're saying about me behind my back. However, I also feel if somebody was to backbite about me, I should give them a bunch of flowers. Do you know why? Because they've added good deeds to my record. But sadly, they've added bad deeds to their own. If I was selfish, I should give them a bunch of flowers, saying, "What you've just done, thank you very much. You're backbiting, alhamdulillah, I got lots of rewards for it." But I can't say that, because I can't wish bad for my brother or my sister. Backbiting, my brothers and sisters, is a sin. In fact, it's a choice. You make that choice. You cannot blame anyone else for it. You could have chosen a different response altogether instead of gossiping, backbiting or slandering. Let me share with you a powerful incident around backbiting recently. An imam of a big mosque was speaking about me behind my back in a bad way. This news came to me. I did not jump to any immediate reaction. I waited for the right moment so that I could clarify what he said, verify the story first, and then tell him I would like to reconcile if he is harboring such negative thoughts about me. Allah gave me that opportunity once. A few months later, at a big program, I saw him. After all, I said to myself, we're fellow imams trying to inspire people to live by the teachings of Islam. We should not be doing it ourselves. So let me go and speak to this imam nicely and politely. I took him aside, I greeted him, and I said to him, "Shaykh, is this true? It's been brought to my attention that you've been talking about me behind my back negatively. Can you please tell me if this is true?" He looked at me and he said, "Yes, I was warning people to be careful about your opinions, as I felt you could be misguiding people." I said to him, Shaykh, talking negatively behind my back is backbiting, and you know that already. You have my private phone number. You could have picked up the phone and you could have spoken to me and clarified. But instead, you chose to speak behind me in a disparaging manner and in my absence. Shaykh, isn't that what ghiba is, backbiting is? And you already clearly know the exact nature of the punishment Allah has described. And He has said it is like eating the rotten flesh of your dead brother. I reminded him the verse of the Quran that I just read to you from Surah Hujurat. He looked me in the eyes for a few seconds. His face turned crimson red. His eyes welled up and he started crying. He reached out to me and he gave me a big hug, an apologetic hug. And he said to me, I'm really, really sorry. Will you please forgive me? I should not have spoken about this in this manner. I should not have backbitten you. You're right. I should have spoken to you directly first. And he was crying out of regret. I felt a genuine sense of remorse from this Imam. And I said to him, may Allah forgive us all for all of our shortcomings. May Allah forgive you for backbiting. And I gave him a hug and we said goodbye. He promised never to backbite again. And alhamdulillah, I've never had anything since. My brothers and sisters, I've also made a promise to myself that I will never intentionally or unintentionally backbite about anybody. I'm happy to highlight the sins, but not the sinner. Remember, I am happy to highlight the sin, but not the sinner. As an Imam and a public figure, it is my duty to bring to people's attention issues of concern, issues of morality, issues of sin, issues that concern the community collectively and individually. But I don't have to backbite anyone in order to do that. I can refrain from backbiting and do my job. Backbiting is defined as speaking about someone in their absence negatively or maliciously. Even what you're saying is true, and if what you're saying is false, then it becomes a slander. Backbiting is ghiba, and slander is namima. Both of them are haram according to the teachings of Allah in the Quran and the sayings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're two sides of the same coin, the evil coin that we see so dominant in our society. In fact, backbiting has become national pastime for many people in many societies today. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam defined backbiting in his own words when he said, do you know what is backbiting? The companion said, Allah and His Messenger know the best. Prophet ﷺ replied, it is to mention about your brother something that he would dislike having been mentioned about him in front of him. What you can't say in front of me, don't say that behind me. Simple. If you can't say it in front of me, keep your mouth shut behind me. Because if you don't keep your mouth shut and speak about me behind my back, that's backbiting. And if you lie about me, then you're slandering. Imam Nawawi, in his interpretation of this hadith, writes, mentioning about your brother something that he would dislike includes what concerns his body, his religious practice, his worldly station, his physical appearance, his moral character, his wealth, his parents, his children, his spouse, his workers, his clothing, his activities, his smiles, his frowns, and anything else that pertains to him. Do you understand that? Beautifully said. Imam Nawawi has explained when you talk about somebody what it includes. It includes, let me remind me and you again, concerns his body, his religious practices, his worldly station, his physical attraction, his moral character, his wealth, his parents, his children, his spouse, his fellow workers, his clothing, his activities, his smiles, his frowns, and everything else that pertains to him. In other words, you can't talk about your brother or your sister behind their back in any way, shape, or form, unless it's good. You can't talk about your brother or your sister behind their back, under any circumstances, in any shape or form, unless it is good or permissible. Twice Prophet ﷺ has given permission for you to give objective references about people. One of them is when somebody comes for marriage reference. Then you should tell the other person, I'm going to give you the reference of this individual that you're seeking in reference for in confidence, that you will never prejudice this person with this reference outside the context of marriage. It will only be with you and nobody else. If they cannot guarantee confidentiality, and if they're going to go and badmouth you or that person, then don't give them references. Under no circumstances are you allowed to speak about your brother behind their back, or your sister behind their back, negatively, maliciously. You're only allowed to speak about them positively. That is the teaching of Allah's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what we find in the Quran. It does not matter if you mention it explicitly by words or implicitly by indication or gesture. This includes sayings like, "Oh Allah, pardon us all," including the person around. "Oh Allah, forgive us," referring to the other person. "Allah, keep us safe from this person," referring to that person. Whether you say it sarcastically or directly, it is the intention for which you'll be rewarded and you'll be accounted. And if your intention was sarcasm, if your intention was to include that person, then you are backbiting. Be careful. Rasulullah said, if you can guarantee what is between your lips, inside your mouth, that's your tongue. Allah's Prophet said, I can guarantee you paradise. And Prophet ﷺ can't guarantee paradise because he is not Allah. But Allah has inspired him to say this to you and I. In other words, Prophet ﷺ is conveying to you and I a message from Allah. He guaranteed the tongue Allah has bestowed on you, given you as a gift. Allah will pave a way for you towards paradise, inshallah. But if you can't guarantee it, then we are in trouble. Prophet ﷺ goes on in the same hadith to explain the difference between backbiting and slandering. And I've already mentioned the difference between backbiting and slandering earlier on. Al-Hasan al-Basri said backbiting has three manifestations, of which are discussed in Allah's book. They are backbiting, tale-telling, and slander. As for backbiting, it is to say something about your brother or your sister that is true about them negatively behind them. Tale-telling is to make up stories about your brother, lies behind them. Something that you've heard from somebody else. And slandering is blatantly making up a lie by yourself. So, remember, three manifestations of backbiting. Backbiting straight, you talk about them behind their back negatively, or you share a story that you've heard from somebody else without verifying the truth or falseness of it, and you can't do that even if you verified it because you need to speak to them directly. Tale-telling. The third is slandering. Let me illustrate this example a bit more, my brothers and sisters. Imagine I was hurt by something my brother said or did. I felt angry and upset by his action. And I did not speak to him directly because I felt resentment inside me towards him. So I decided to speak to my sister with the hope that my sister would speak to my brother. My sister decided not to speak to my brother directly. She decided to speak to my brother's wife. She told my brother's wife, and then my brother's wife told my brother. By the time my brother heard the story had already mutated into a Chinese whisper. It was a catastrophe that he heard. It was the end of the world he has heard. The story has become conflated, inflated, and it has mothballed into something huge and big. In the process, my brothers and sisters, I have sinned by backbiting. I have inspired my sister to sin by backbiting to her, and she backbiting as a consequence of me talking to her. The only person who didn't backbite is my brother's wife, who spoke to him directly. So, if you are hurt by somebody, you don't need to say A, to say to A, B, C, D, E, and F comes and tells you, or somebody else. You don't need to go around. Some cultures have this terrible habit, especially the Asians. I can tell you that my own background, I never hear something straight. It's like this continuously. Why? Come to me directly if you've got a problem. My brothers and sisters, the simplest solution is to stop backbiting. If my brother was responsible for hurting me, then I'm responsible for speaking to him directly. It's simple. It is simple, and yet we complicate it. You can backbite by words which are written or spoken, body language, hand or eye gestures, directly or indirectly. Aisha radiallahu anha, who is Aisha? The Prophet's wife, the wife of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not an ordinary woman. Allah has given the wives of the Prophet an elevated position. Ummahatul Mu'mineen, they were called the mothers of the believers. They were given special status. Aisha's character was certified by Allah by revelation. And yet Aisha was told off by the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when she did this. Aisha said, Prophet said to her, Aisha said to the Prophet, it should be enough, O Prophet of Allah, that you should know that Safiya is short. Look at this. She said, O Prophet of Allah, it's enough for you to know that Safiya is short. She is remarking about someone's height. Prophet replied, O Aisha, you have said a word that if it was to be mixed with the water of the sea, it would contaminate all of the sea. Who is this? Aisha radiallahu anha. O Aisha, you have said a word that if it was mixed with the sea, the entire sea would be contaminated. And Aisha was merely making a gesture of somebody else's height. How often do we talk about that short person, that tall person, that ugly person? Did you see his eyes? Did you see his legs? Did you see his nose? Did you see his beard? How often do we talk like that? Brother, I mean the best. I'm talking about the Sunnah beard, but his beard wasn't Sunnah beard. Why are you talking about that brother behind his back? Why are you talking about his beard behind his back? Why are you talking about his clothes behind his back? Why are you talking about him behind his back? Full stop. Why? What do you gain out of it? My brothers and sisters, there are very powerful lessons to be drawn from the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a gossip was spread about Aisha radiallahu anha. You know the story. Aisha radiallahu anha was accused of bad behavior. And this gossip and slander and gossip and backbiting continued. Prophet was so hard. He sent Aisha to her father's house saying, Ya Aisha, I can't take this anymore. Go to your father's house until Allah decides. Aisha went to her father's house and she said, when this came to me and Prophet said this, it was like the earth moved out of under my feet. I felt the world has come to an end. But Aisha waited and waited and waited until revelation came, verifying Aisha's character. When Prophet came to Aisha and said, oh Aisha, today Allah has clarified. Aisha made it very clear, Ya Rasulullah, is this from you or has the revelation come from Allah Azza wa Jal? Aisha radiallahu anha was reassured by Prophet, Ya Aisha, this is the verse that has come about you. Allah has verified your character. The wife of the Prophet, the family of the Prophet was about to be ruptured, broken into small pieces by gossip and slander and backbiting. My brothers and sisters, this cycle of backbiting must stop immediately. Promise to never backbite again. And watch yourself closely. Go on, make a promise to yourself in the house of Allah today. Make a promise to your head. Ya Allah, give me the strength. I will never backbite again. Go ahead and do it. For Allah is your witness. For in the house of Allah, let us make a promise, my brothers and sisters, that I will never backbite again. I will never backbite again about my brother or my sister. Anyone who backbites should be challenged politely and privately. You should remind them backbiting is wrong, destructive, and cowardly. Politely and privately, remember. And the third, you should refuse to listen to backbiting or slandering. If somebody is backbiting and slandering, literally put your fingers in your ear and say, I'm not interested. Please, leave me alone. I don't want to know. Put your fingers in your ears and walk away. Walk away. For listening to backbite and slander is the same as if you have done it yourself. Keep reminding yourself this, my brothers and sisters. If I have a problem with somebody, if somebody has hurt me or caused me pain, I will speak to that person directly. If somebody has hurt me, If somebody has hurt me, I should speak to that person directly. If you have disagreements with somebody, well, learn to live with it. What's the problem if you have disagreements? What's the problem with disagreements? You're allowed to differ, but not squabble. Your heart feeling, your pain in your heart, your disagreement do not give you green light to backbite or slander ever. What works for me is a reminder that unless I settle my account on this earth before I die, I will get stuck on the day of judgment. I may have prayed 5 times a day, tahajjud prayer, fasted in the month of Ramadan, performed hajj, given charity. However, if I have engaged in backbiting and slandering people on this earth, all these good deeds on the day of judgment will be worthless for me. For they will be taken away from me and given to those people I have been backbiting and slandering. And their bad deeds will be added to mine. My brothers and sisters, these are not my words, the words of our beloved Prophet Muhammad who said, he said to the companions, do you know the most bankrupt person? The companion said, the person amongst us who is bankrupt is the one who possesses neither money nor provision. They said, materially, he's bankrupt. Of course, correct. Prophet said, no. That is one definition. But the true definition of bankruptcy is the one who is bankrupt amongst my followers is the one who comes on the day of judgment with prayers, charity and fasting to his credit. However, he had insulted this person, struck that person, seized the wealth of another, on account of which his good deeds will be taken away from him. Then if his good deeds are exhausted, the sins of others that he has wronged will be added to his records, foisted upon him, and then he will be cast in the hellfire. That is the most striking reminder for me, my brothers and sisters. That's what keeps me frightened. When I backbite, when I slander, I pave my way to hellfire. Somebody recently called me up and said, I want to apologize to you for backbiting. I said, okay. But I thought you just apologized to me the other day for backbiting. Is this another episode of backbiting? He goes, yes. And then he says to me, I don't know why, but I keep on backbiting about you. And then I keep on calling you up and apologizing. So I said to him, please don't take me for a ride. I said to him, please don't take me for a ride. It doesn't work for me that you keep on calling me and telling me that you're backbiting about me. I'm a human being, it hurts. I have feelings and emotions, it causes me trouble. Please make a promise that you will never backbite. And don't call me up again to tell me that you're backbitten. Ask Allah to forgive you. There is a difference between apologizing for backbiting and taking it for a ride. Or getting into a habit, a toxic habit that you can't give up. Don't poison people around you with your toxic habit. Give it up. Toxic habits are terrible. My brothers and sisters, if you promise never to backbite, 80% of your relationships will be okay. The remaining 20% you can live with. May Allah forgive us and strengthen us and enable us so that we don't backbite anymore. وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I'll just finish in a couple of minutes, inshallah. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا أَيُحِبَّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ. And neither allow yourselves to speak ill of one another behind their back. Would any of you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother? No, you loathe it. And be conscious of Allah. Verily, Allah is accepting of your repentance and dispenser of grace. Remember, my brothers and sisters, if you backbite, you lose the benefit of your good deeds on the day of judgment and on this earth. Remember, if you humiliate a person and dishonor them, you will be dishonored and humiliated on this earth. Remember, my brothers and sisters, we are all sinners. Why do I then look at the sin of somebody else when I am sinful? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said very beautifully, one of you sees the dust in the eyes of your brother, but he fails to see the crust in his eyes. We see the dust in our brothers, eyes, but we don't see the crust coming out of our eyes, made out of dust. Don't hang around with people who are backbiters and slanderers and gossipers. If you cannot speak the truth, keep your mouth shut. If you can't speak to me about myself, don't speak to me, don't speak about me behind my back. My brothers and sisters, today's reminder, and reminder for months and years to come, please make this promise, that I will never backbite again, that I will stay away from people who are backbiting. I will not look at other people's sins and faults. I will concentrate on myself, and if I have something constructive and positive to give to somebody, I will politely and privately advise them. And if they don't listen to my advice, I'll make dua for them and I'll walk away saying salam. That is the sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we are true believers, we will stop backbiting. We will stop backbiting. So please, my brothers and sisters, stop backbiting from today. Never repeat it. Never do it again. May Allah forgive us for our backbiting. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, forgive us for backbiting, Ya Allah. Forgive us for slandering, Ya Allah. Forgive us for gossiping, Ya Allah. Strengthen our hearts, Ya Allah. Unite us together, Ya Allah. Make us a strong ummah, Ya Allah. Increase our love for each other, Ya Allah. Restore peace and stability between us, Ya Allah. Make us a community of brotherhood, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, make us brothers and sisters in deen, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, restore peace and justice on this earth, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, free Al-Aqsa from occupation, Ya Allah. Free Kashmir from occupation, Ya Allah. Free Iraq and Syria from fitna and troubles, Ya Allah. Free Yemen from the troubles, Ya Allah. Free every part of the world that is in trouble, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, unite us, Ya Allah. Protect our children, Ya Allah. Give us shifa from your shifa, Ya Allah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.